This is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
Welcome into the show, everyone. We appreciate you riding with us tonight. We got plenty to talk about. It is another tough game for the Cowboys and Cowboys Nation. They lose to the Eagles 34-6. We got tons to talk about the future of this team, the future of Mike McCarthy. Where do they go from here? And where can the Cowboys find offense? Meanwhile, Andrew Cely, he's with me, riding shotgun like he always does. What you got planned for the big show tonight, bud?
Well, I mean, you got right into it, so let's get right into it with What's on the Show.
Here's What's on the Show, sponsored by NFM.
Oh no, we suck again. The Cowboys outright stink. The offense got stuck in rush hour. Defense caved in the second half. 34-6 lost to the Eagles. It was all brutal. We got a lot left to dissect there as Joe got into some of the particulars, but we'll deal with that in a second. Plus, it is a return of no fence riding with a special look at college football because, yes, there are some positive things happening in the state of Texas with regard to the game of football. Joe, that's What's on the Show. Now, who's on the show?
We got a couple of my favorite people in the DFW media scene. We got Clarence Hill, who is a frequent contributor on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, and also making his first appearance. My main man, Donovan Lewis, the one and only from The Ticket. Perhaps you've heard our musings before when we're on The Ticket together. Donnie Do, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, Joe. Thanks for having me, man.
Good. Well, we appreciate you being here. And let's jump right into it, fellas, because this Cowboys team, can you believe we got 8 more weeks in this? Y'all looking forward to that? Are we looking forward to that? What bothered you most about what you saw today, Donovan?
Man, it was the offense. You would think that you wouldn't have to change the offense too much with Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush. It's not like Dak was just airing it out, so you thought a sound offensive plan would be good. And we've seen Cooper Rush be good the few times that he's filled in for Dak. So you thought that everything would be A-okay offensively, but my goodness, was that bad. That was probably one of the worst offensive performances I think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen the stat line of what Cooper Rush put out there with so little yards and so many completions. It was just a bad offensive performance all the way around. And it's been bad offensively all year, but they kind of took it to another level today.
Yeah, Cooper Rush, 13-23 for 45 yards. How do you do that? We looked at the averages. The Cowboys averaged 4 yards per rush today. They only averaged 3.9 yards per catch. Clarence, how does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know how it happens, but, I mean, this team is not built for Cooper Rush. You know, when I know Donovan talked about what Cooper Rush's success in the past, and he's not Dak Prescott. And when he won in the past, it's because they had a good defense, because they had a good rushing game. If you go back and look at some of the wins in the past, he never threw for a lot of yards. That's never been his game. He's been more of a bus driver. But when you have 5 turnovers, he never threw the ball down the field. Everything down the field was short. Everything he completed was right at the line of scrimmage. You know, it just was not there for the Cowboys. But who didn't see this coming? Let's be honest about this. I mean, I didn't give them a chance, offensively or defensively, against this Eagles team. And they held up early on defensively. That was a surprise because of the great play of DeMarvion Overshawn, who's really been a bright spot, and Micah Parsons getting his 2 sacks. And, you know, they tried to, I guess, stop up the dam for a little bit. They were keeping their fingers in the dikes, and then everything just kind of, the floods went on the second half, and you saw what happened, what we thought was going to happen at the start of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting, right? Because I do think Mike Zimmer needs to be commended. He had a real big-time chess piece come back in Micah Parsons, and he was able to scheme some things up in terms of getting pressure on Jalen Hurts. And listen, for that first half, we had a game, and it's just sad they couldn't get any offense going. What is your take overall, Clarence, on the job that Zimmer has done with a defense that has been decimated by injury?
Well, let's be honest. Zimmer was their biggest offseason acquisition. When they talk about things they did in the offseason, and I know we're loving Dan Quinn now, but nobody was happy with Dan Quinn after that Green Bay game. And I know the Cowboys are thinking, well, Zimmer's going to bring a sound scheme fundamentally. They're going to stop the run, and he's going to be a dog cusser, and he's going to make them more disciplined, and they won't have penalties. It's been a disappointment. Let's be honest about it. He doesn't have the bite or the bark that we thought he had. Certainly doesn't have the bite or the bark that he used to have. This defense has been atrocious, and there's been guys not being in position. You go back to last week when Trevon Diggs was not lined up and they gave up that easy touchdown and were begging for a pick play when it was a man-to-man. You know who your guys are. Guys have been slow to learn his scheme. It's been a disappointment with Zimmer. Let's be honest about that. You know, certainly there's some bright spots. Certainly they're growing compared to where they were at the start of the season. But overall, he was the biggest offseason acquisition, and it's been a huge disappointment.
Donovan, what's your take on Zimmer?
Yeah, you know what? I guess it feels like he just is working with what he has. It's not like they just gave him a whole lot of toys to play with in the toy box in order to get this defense right. They failed spectacularly against Green Bay. And Clarence is right. He was the biggest off-season acquisition they had. Said, hey, you know what? Make this cake, but I'm going to take some ingredients away from you. But make the same cake and make it delicious. And he just can't do it with this team. They've just been really, really bad. And then when they have some success, like even today, 5 sacks in the first half, they got a turnover. They gave the Cowboys offense the ball at the 6-yard line and said, go take the lead. Go take the lead. And the Cowboys offense couldn't do it, had to settle for a field goal. It's 7-6. And then after that, the offense couldn't do anything. Man, this was probably one of their better performances today. And it's going to get overshadowed because they gave up 34 points, and it was a second half of, well, if the offense can't do anything, then we're stuck. We can't do anything. And there you go. So it's kind of been the book report of the season so far. Something good happens, about 7 bad things happen. Then something good happens, and then about 8 bad things happen. So that's what we're used to this year.
I'm glad you said overshadowed because the sun was particularly important on that potential 6-yard drive, Joe.
Unbelievable stuff. Listen, we got to take a break, guys, but stick with us. We got plenty more to talk about. In fact, we have to talk about the head coach. How long does this keep going on? That's coming up next on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
Today's headlines, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers.
Elsewhere around the league, the rest of the NFC East also fell flat on their faces. The Giants wrap up the NFL's International Series with a 20-17 loss to the Panthers in Munich. And the Commanders blow a 10-point lead to the Steelers at home in a 28-27 loss. Washington will face the Eagles in Philly on Thursday. Boy, it felt good trying to, talk about a division race again when I was making those headlines earlier today. It's all I'll say. And there is a world here where the Cowboys pull off a win against the Eagles and they're 4-5 with an edge and kind of inching closer. So they weren't that far out of it, but I think ultimately our main takeaway is, especially after Micah Parsons' comments, Mike McCarthy's future. Because the last time that the Cowboys switched head coaches in the middle of the season, Wade Phillips in 2010, when McCarthy was on the other sideline in Green Bay on a 45-7 loss. Joe, your main takeaway from this game, and how do you think this shapes out the last?
Well, first of all, I think we did get a true barometer of just how far off the Cowboys are in terms of this division with what they did against the Eagles today. And I'm curious to see how it looks when they take on Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. But as far as McCarthy goes, today I think he missed out on a prime opportunity because he tried to play it status quo, doing what they had been doing, just bringing Cooper Rush in, when the real play, and I talked to Clarence about this earlier in the week, he should have brought special packages for Trey Lance and used those packages when they were in the red zone to try and show a different wrinkle to the Eagles. It could have been effective. It would have been something that would have been a tendency breaker and something that they didn't see. It also would have introduced Trey Lance to the game in a way that he could have been comfortable. They have the RPO scheme in this offense already. It's built in. They should have used it. They could have used it instead of bringing him in the way they did. So I think McCarthy missed out on that. And again, we have all been on Mike McCarthy about the lack of creativity and how this offense feels stale. He had an opportunity to go against that grain. He didn't take it. And good luck on finding your next job, Mike McCarthy. Donovan, what do you think about Big Mike?
It almost feels like he's just trying to get fired. He's just like, you know what? I just want to get the heck up out of here. I'm not going to quit. Just fire me so I can go on about my business. No, It's amazing to me how the offense has just crashed from last year. This offense was so good last year. And if they needed to outscore people, okay, they can do that if the defense wasn't holding up their end of the bargain. But it is just in a 180 from what they did last year with some of the same pieces in the running game. They should have known they couldn't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish with the running game that they have right now. But they are, again, it's the same thing. Make the same cake, but take away some of the ingredients. You should be okay. And yeah, this year, he's not going to have a job after this year, not with Dallas. He may get hired somewhere else. But man, the way it's looking and just the body language and just everything about it, it's almost like he wants to go back to the barn and watch more football and see if he can sit out for another year or two before he gets another gig.
Serious question, though, Clarence. How long do you think this team can go on like this? Because there was that air of hopelessness, especially as that second half wore on today.
Yeah, and just from a point of order, we talked to Jerry after the game, and Jerry said he's not making an in-season coaching change. He insisted he's not doing it. He regrets doing it with Wade Phillips in 2010. He regretted firing Chan Gailey. He said he's not making an in-season coaching change. He's not going to do anything with Mike McCarthy. That's what he says now. He said that a couple of times this season already, that he's not making an in-season coaching change. So it looks like Mike McCarthy is certainly going to play out the string in the season in which he came into the year needing to at least get the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl to keep his job. He's basically been a lame duck coach on a 1 year in the last year of his contract with no promise to be back next year unless he improved from those 25 seasons of the last 3 years with only one playoff win. So he had to be better. Yeah, it doesn't feel good. One thing I do want to point out, you talked about Trey Lance and the packages. When they brought Trey Lance in the third quarter, they did bring a package for him. Mike McCarthy said they had some packages for him, so they didn't use them around the goal line. But they did have those zone read type packages for him, and they did have a plan to use him in the game. And certainly he was brought in for 2 plays at the end of the third quarter. Then on the third down play, they didn't feel he was ready to do the third down. So they brought Cooper Rush back in, and then Trey Lance played the entire fourth quarter. But let's be honest, one of those red zone plays where they probably could have scored a touchdown is not about Mike McCarthy and not having a package. It's about Jerry Jones not having curtains on the stadium.
Thank you for leading me to my next topic. You have led me to my next topic because we have to talk about the curtains. And it's a shame that we have to talk about the curtains because that's where this franchise is, right? And it feels like the only reason that there aren't curtains and that we still have that glare is the stubbornness of the owner. And the stubbornness of the owner is part of the reason why this franchise hasn't done more in the last 3 decades. But let's stick with the curtains for right now. Donovan, what's your take on the curtains?
It's just so bad. I don't understand. Even if it was aesthetically pleasing to the eye, that's one thing. But it looks horrible on TV. It affects his team way more than it affects the others. I just don't get it and understand why he's so stubborn about that when it directly affects the play of your team and it cost them a touchdown today.
Clarence?
Yeah, Jerry is stubborn. There's no question about this because he puts them in for WWE. They put him in for concerts. They've been put in for other events. He won't do it for football games because he's dug in and is stubborn. He doesn't want to make it. Obviously it was a mistake in how they built the stadium, the way it's direction is turned, not putting the curtains in. He does not want to admit that mistake. CeeDee Lamb tonight advocated, I want curtains. 1,000%. Please let Jerry know.
It is unbelievable that we keep talking about the curtains. It kills me, but you know what? I'm going to continue to talk about the curtains because someone needs to bring some sense of sanity. It doesn't cost that much money to get these curtains right, and they just refuse to do it. All right, they're telling me to shut up. There's enough already about the curtains.
Curtains on this block, but not curtains on discussion on Jerry Jones. Stay with us. Coming up on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, it's No Fence Writing. Stay with us.
And now it's time for No Fence Riding, sponsored by the Fort Worth Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. It is time now for everyone's favorite game except for Michelle, No Fence Riding. I've got a series of statements for our esteemed panel. It's their job to pick which side of the fence they're on. So let's start with something a little bit spicy and continue our Jerry Jones discussion. The prior 3 years were Jerry Jones' last real shot at winning another Super Bowl. Dak aging, defense currently in shambles, albeit with a stopgap right now in Zimmer that May or may not be decent. Head coach change likely incoming, especially after Parsons' comments. It is a long rebuild either way you stretch it, because I don't think they get it done with Dak, at least in the next few years here. Donovan, we'll start with you. What do you think?
You know what? I may take the other road and say I don't think it's the last real shot because they do have the core. Dak may not be the best guy to lead you to a Super Bowl, but he's a top 15 quarterback. You have the receiver, you have the defensive star in Michael Parsons. So while last year I feel was the best opportunity, it was laid out for him perfectly to go to a championship game, I don't think the last 3 years were the last shot for Jerry Jones.
Clarence, what do you think?
Well, Jared's not going anywhere. I mean, he told us a few years ago he has the mind of a 40-year-old, okay? So, we don't know when the last real shot is, but certainly you look at Dak's 4-year window, they have to do more than they did in this past offseason to help Dak and CD and certainly signing Micah to get something done. So, yeah, this past run, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5 should have been the shot. Last year was the best chance they've had in a long time. I say go back to 2007 or 2006, the year they had with Tony Romo. No, 2007 when they went 13-3. But I think he has another shot. Jerry ain't going anywhere.
No, I agree. Same. I agree.
Cool. All right, moving on. Question number 2. This one's for Clarence. It's now or never for Texas. Georgia, Bama down in the SEC. Easiest possible SEC schedule heading down the stretch run here. And honestly, looking at how the bracket's shaking out, you're getting some easier opponents in the mix. BYU isn't all the cracked up. Granted, it might not line up that way, but it certainly feels like if they're going to get it done with Sark, this is the year to do it. Clarence, we'll start with you.
This is easy.
I mean, it's easy, but let's not talk about the easy SEC schedule, because all I heard was SEC. You guys tough every week, and now we're talking about the easy schedule in SEC. We're not playing that. Yeah, we're sweeping the SEC and going to the game.
Donovan, what do you think?
No. I don't think it's now or never. I think they'll have other opportunities, man. They are going to keep getting talent. And even if they have to play, the tougher SEC schedule down the road, I think they'll be well equipped for it. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, it is definitely not now or never. I'm going to bring up the uncles of the guy I used to watch this guy's uncles play in high school. Arch Manning is coming up next. Texas got a window. It's a big window.
We like to think so, but you never know how long these kids stick around. You never know how long Sark's going to stick around, especially the way the NFL works. All right, moving on.
Go ahead.
Final statement here. Ashton Jeanty should literally be running away with the Heisman at this point. I know this has now turned into a semi-quarterback award, and running backs are basically last year's news. But the way Jeanty has been running, it has been incredible. And the pace he's been on has been like just the fact I have to tune into a Boise State game on a late Saturday night and care about the result and just watch him run. It says something about the state of how he's playing. Donovan, we'll toss it to you. What do you think?
Yeah, give me yes. You know what? They have other. I think Travis Hunter is right in the mix. Cam Ward probably hurt his chances this past Saturday with the way he performed. But Ashton Jeanty definitely should be at the top of every Heisman list. Running away, I don't know, because Travis Hunter is really a good football player, and he should be right there in the mix also.
Hey, Frisco Lone Star, stand up. Ashton Jeanty doing his thing, bringing the running back into the Heisman the way it should be. Those of us who are of a certain age remember when it was like that all the time, and this just wasn't just a quarterback award. So keep doing your thing, Ashton. All of us Rangers from Frisco Lone Star cheering you along the way.
That sounds good to me.
Come on, Travis Hunter, man. Travis Hunter.
All right.
All right, Travis Hunter.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you, Clarence and Donovan, for joining us on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We really appreciate it. Stay with us. Joe's Final Take coming up next.
Appreciate y'all.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Time now for Joe's Final Take.
My final take is the unbelievable stat line of Cooper Rush against the Eagles. 13 of 23 for 45 yards. I still can't believe I'm verbalizing that. But let me be clear, it's not all Cooper Rush's fault. Everyone has a hand in this, and it started with Jerry Jones in the front office not having more talent on the roster and having a better running game. So Cooper has to own it, but Coop, it's not all on you. And I still Andrew could not believe it. It's unbelievable. All right, folks, we appreciate you being on the show, joining us, tuning in. Thanks so much for all that. That's the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Another tough game for your Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, yikes. Nat Flynn, he is not.
No, not at all.
Come on, man.
All right, y'all have a good night, everybody.
Take it
You
easy.
know numbers. I mean, can you believe?
This has been the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.